Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Devin and I read books, and this is Devin Reads Books, and in this vlog we're going to get caught up on some of my Nightworms books. So we are going to start with The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kiste. This focuses on Talitha, who 20 years ago, well probably closer to 30, her and some of her friends had left this neighborhood called the Velkwood vicinity. And after they had left, the entire area was surrounded in fog and everyone has disappeared. For one reason or another, things have transpired and Talitha accompanies a paranormal investigator back to the Velkwood vicinity. I've heard nothing but really good things about this book. I just keep putting it off. I've had it forever. It's a Nightworms book from like last year, but I'm very excited to start with this one. The next two books are from the most recent package. That is the Sundowners Dance by Todd Keisling. This focuses on Jerry Campbell, who is a widower and moves into a retirement community, Fairview Acres. One night, one of his neighbors kind of shows up on his porch, rambling, raving about the worms are dancing and telling him he should leave. And over time, he starts to realize things might not be quite what they seem. So I'm very excited to dive into this. The cover is spectacular, and Nightworms actually sent out a little pamphlet for retirement community, so I thought that was very cool. And the final book we're going to read in this vlog is one that everyone is raving about. I've never read anything from this author, so I'm really excited, and that is When the Wolf Comes Home by Cassidy. So he also did Nestlings, which is on the back here, which I've also heard extremely good things about. This book focuses on Jess, who is a struggling actress who finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes. After a violent encounter with the boy's father, they kind of go on the run, and throughout that, she kind of realizes that there are some surreal and unnatural things happening. Everyone who I've seen that has read this already on Bookstagram or YouTube has absolutely loved this, so I'm very excited to get into this. I'm also very excited to finally start knocking off some Nightworms books. I know 2 of these are from the newest package, but hey, if I can get in front of the new books, I can get caught up on the backlog, alright? So I'm gonna go get started on The Haunting of Velkwood, and I will update you guys in a little bit.
The truth about this virus is being kept from the world. By the CDC, by the World Health Organization.
Alrighty guys, so I am about a quarter or so of the way through The Haunting of Velkwood. I don't read with my dust jackets on. That bothers me. I don't know why. I used to, but a long time now I just take them off. I really like this so far. I really like the concept, actually. So the book centers around Talitha, who is now 40. Her and 2 of her friends at some point had left their house, left their street, and not long after it had kind of fogged over, and no one's been able to get back into the vicinity. The Velkwood vicinity is what they call it. And Jack convinces Talitha to go back as part of a nonprofit thing. And she does, because in one of the pictures he gives her, she sees her little sister. And she goes back, and the whole town is filled with these ghosts. They're almost like imprints of how things were before that night. And I really like that, because a big theme of this book so far seems to be, let's not do that, the ghosts of trauma. And the things that kind of stick around with you after major events or traumatic events. It hasn't gone too much into detail over some of the things that happened that night that caused those 3 girls to kind of leave. I'm really excited to dive into more, but Svengoolie is about to come on, and we are a Svengoolie household. I've got the 3 Stooges playing on MeTV right now, and we're gonna watch Svengoolie tonight, and then we're gonna read a little more. And I will update you guys again before I go to bed. Oh my god. Guys, Svengoolie is Kingdom of Spiders. It's like one of my favorite movies ever. I love that movie so much. Alrighty guys, so I am about halfway through Velkwood now. I am cooking some orange chicken, and then I think I'm gonna put on the autopsy of Jane Doe while I read. So I think last time we talked, I had explained that Velkwood vicinity is just kind of surrounded by fog, but is kind of frozen in the moment that all of this had happened. And the main character, Talitha, she and two of her friends had escaped, but there's actually a fourth friend involved named Enid, and she's apparently staying there. I'm gonna try to avoid any serious spoilers from this point on, but we'll see. So when Talitha goes into the Velkwood vicinity, she has a timer for an hour. And then when she leaves, she finds out she's been gone for 3 months. So she calls her friend Brett, who was there. She was one of the girls that had escaped the Velkwood vicinity, Talitha, Brett, and Grace. And that's kind of where I'm at now. She has shown up for some reason. Well, not for some reason. Talitha wanted her there for support. But she's just kind of there now. And there's obviously some tension kind of around that. There's also some weirdness with Enid, and it's kind of implied that Enid is kind of the root of what happened. All three of the girls that got away had some kind of internal trauma. Brett had an abusive stepfather. Enid had an absentee father. Grace didn't have any real big trauma that it's shown so far. Neither really did Talitha, but they both kind of had different life, different childhoods. So Talitha had kind of an overbearing mother, and then Grace was kind of like your Jack and Diane cookie cutter in a small town. And so her friends kind of bullied her a little bit for that, but it's clear that she kind of didn't have the worst childhood, at least 100 pages in. And her only real connection back to this town was Dell. Now Grace actually is like barely in the book because she went crazy. She went back to Velkwood before everyone else. So where I'm at now, it's starting to get in the nitty gritty of what's kind of going on in Velkwood. There's already some implications I don't want to get too into, but I'm hoping to finish this tonight, and I will update you guys with as much details as I can give you. I am enjoying this so far. I really like the writing style and the prose, and I really like the characters. So there's some kind of lingering relationship between Brett, Grace, Jack, the main head researcher, PhD graduate, I think he's technically a PhD student. He is like obsessed with Velkwood because he's obsessed with the paranormal. His aunt took care of him. His aunt passed. She died of cancer. On the day he went to buy the paper that her obituary was in was the day that Velkwood happened. So like all these characters are very interconnected, and I really love that. I really kind of love that synchronicities, especially in like mysterious horror books. So I'm gonna eat some orange chicken and then get started on this, and I'll update you guys in a bit. Alrighty guys, so I finished book 1, Haunting of Velkwood. I really enjoyed this. I love this. I did not read it in a day. It is slower than I was expecting it to be as a read. And that is mostly because I was expecting more of a strong mystery element, and it's kind of there. There's a particular event that there's a lot of implications around, but for the most part, it really focuses on Talitha, and then later Brett, and how those two and Grace, to a lesser extent, deal with kind of this trauma that happened in their past that kind of caused the Velkwood incident. And it really focuses on those relationships and those impacts. So the theme and messaging of this book is just spectacular in trauma and whether or not we really move on from it, or how much it impacts us, or how much we should let it impact us. I love this, actually. I thought it was spectacular. I don't have any real complaints with it. I like the ending. I felt it fit very well. There's one character... No, I do have a complaint. Jack, who is supposed to be the secondary main character, kind of gets shoved to the side once Talitha starts going back into the Velkwood vicinity. Like, he gets this big introduction. We learn about his grandmother, why he's interested in the paranormal, and all this stuff, and how he's connected to all of this. And then he takes an immediate backseat for 80% of the book. And I didn't like that. I don't like bringing us characters like that and giving them these details and these backgrounds and then never using any of it. That bothers me. But I did really like the book overall. I did give it 4 stars. I think for me to have given it 5, it would have had to have been something that I really couldn't put down. It needed something else to really drive like the obsessive read in me to get 5 stars. But Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kiste was absolutely spectacular. Book 2 is going to be Sundowners Dance by Todd Keisling. This focuses on Jerry Campbell, who just wants to be left alone. His wife had recently passed, so he's an elderly widower and retiree. He's desperate for a change of scenery, and he moves into Fairview Acres, a retirement community in the Poconos. And then weird stuff starts kind of happening. It doesn't go too big into the type of incidents, just that there's incidents and eccentricities, and he doesn't want to be the guy who complains. And then a lady, Catherine Dunleash, appears at his doorstep with an ominous warning. You need to leave. The worms, they dance at nightfall. That sounds very interesting, and I really like the cover. That's very ominous. But we are going to start this today. I may end up starting it tonight. It is about 5, but I want to play Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered for a little bit, I think. Probably. So I'm going to go do something, play some B-roll, and I will update you guys after I've read some of the Sundowners Dance. Okay, so I did not play Elder Scrolls, and I haven't read a ton, but I am about 50-ish pages into the Sundowners Dance. I'm really liking this so far. So right from the start, we actually get some very obvious internal monologue that Jerry is kind of going through the motions right now. He's still very much in his grief, and so he almost gets nudged into joining this community and buying this house a little bit. He has some reservations. He kind of chalks them up to his own his own personal tendency to kind of push people away and wanting to stay with something new, but he can't stand to be in his home anymore, the home that he shared with his now passed wife. Immediately, the neighbors are weird. It makes me think of this Lifetime Channel movie that I think is actually based on a book, based on something I saw over on Cameron's channel, Library Macabre, The Glow, which I only know is a Lifetime movie, where like this young couple joins the retirement community, except this Jerry's an actual retiree. And there's some insidious things going on there. And I think that's all I can think about in the early stages of this book as he's kind of meeting his neighbors. There's nothing weird other than they seem to like end all their conversations with Jerry as by saying by the moon's eye. And the first night, or maybe it was the second night, Jerry heard something up on his roof. And he went to go check it out the next morning, and he saw no weird signs. But that's it so far. Not a ton of creepiness, not a ton of weirdness, a lot of trauma, a lot of grief. I found it interesting that the content warnings are in the back, but at the very beginning it says the content warnings are at the back. So why are they at the back? That's not plot relevant. It just seems odd that you would print on a page the content warnings are in the back and then the same size paragraph at the back of the book. It was a weird choice. I don't know. I really do love this publisher though, Shortwave Publishing. They are doing the VHS horror series. So Candy Cane Kills, the sequel, Melonhead. I'm pretty sure the one with the bugs just called Cicada. There's a lot more of them than I thought there were. But I love this edition that they've made for this book. I'm definitely going to read more of this tonight, but we went to the mall the other day and we specifically, Allie wanted to go to Lush, so we went to Lush, and I have Minecraft bath bombs that we are going to use now. And then I'm going to read a little more. I was doing some content ideas. That's why I haven't gotten too much read yet. I'm trying to plan out some stuff, especially for Halloween-a-thon. I have some exciting stuff I want to do for that. But I learned with OSA it is so hard to do week-long vlogs like that, kind of ad hoc. So I'm trying to do a better job of planning that. But we are going to take a bath, probably put on a horror movie in the background. I've been wanting to rewatch Dog Soldiers, which is like one of my favorite movies ever. And we're going to read a little bit more tonight, and then we're going to read a lot more tomorrow. So I will update you guys here in a little bit. Oh God. All right, so this is like the most unflattering angle ever. I'm like too tired to care, and I'm going to keep going. I have about 100 pages left in the Sundowners dance. So I'm going to try to finish it tonight. Maybe I'm going to hop in the bath and then hopefully not fall asleep. But holy shnikes, it is going down now.
And I haven't really done, I mean I have done stuff to be fair. Yeah, I've just been in the shower, I'm about to leave for work, and last night I did some sprints on my channel with...
Alrighty guys, quick update. I've got my tea that I spilled all over the kitchen counter right there. I am right about halfway through. I have been making some progress. I did watch Happy Gilmore and took care of some chores. I am liking this so far. I think I compared it to The Glow, which I know is a Lifetime movie, but I'm pretty sure it was also a book. And so I am going to sip on my tea. I am going to read some more of this, and then I'm going to go to bed. I've got gym in the morning. I got to do core, and then tomorrow I have to work on stuff, build some dashboards, do some work stuff. Eventually, I work in tech. There's a really good chance layoffs are going to come back around, so I need to get my portfolio all up and ready and prepped for the next job. And that's what I'll be doing all weekend. Unfortunately, I have Library Cop in the background. I'm going to get to reading, and I will update you guys in a little bit. Oh god. Alright, so this is like the most unflattering angle ever. I'm like too tired to care, and I'm going to keep going. I have about 100 pages left in the Sundowners dance. I'm going to try to finish it tonight. Maybe. I'm going to hop in the bath and then hopefully not fall asleep. But holy shnikes. It is going down. Jerry's made one friend in this village in Fairview Acres, Catherine, and she has had these glimpses of lucidity mixed with extreme behavior. And Jerry's pretty sure it's not quite dementia. He thinks there's something weird going on, and he befriends her daughter, who shows up because someone is supposed to be taking care of Catherine and she's not. And then he basically, like horror movie trope, tries to rope her into this idea that there's some strangeness going on within the community. So like stuff is really going down now. It is so good. I don't want to go into any more detail because you need to read this yourself. I love this so far. It is, it has a lot of trigger warnings at the beginning, and it is definitely a body horror book, but oh goodness, it's so good. It's so good. And it never really backpedals off of all the grief and the loss and those emotions that Jerry feels while he's kind of figuring out what's happening in this community and how everyone's involved. He even thinks the real estate company that he used is involved with Arthur and Fairview Acres, and somehow it's so fun so far. I am going to read a little more, and then I'm probably going to hop in the bath, use another Minecraft bath bomb, and then crawl into bed and read, and hopefully not fall asleep. I'm like all caffeined out. I had pre-workout, I had a Monster, and I just had a cup of coffee. I'm like crashing hard, but I want to try and finish this tonight. I really want to focus on just reading the book number 3 when the wolf comes home in like one day, just like one stretch, cozy on up and just do it. So I need to try and finish this tonight. So I'm going to get on all of that, and I will update you guys again in a bit. I finished Sundowners Dance last night way too late. I was up way too late, man. So my 30s are hitting like a truck. But we had a good morning when I got home from work. But I finished the Sundowners Dance last night. I have sat with it all morning. I really love this. I liked it more than Velkwood, but although I did give both 4 stars, I don't do a lot of half stars, so maybe I should do that a little more. This was very close to a 5-star read for me. I think the only detractions that I have is I would have liked a little bit more of Jerry coping with his grief and how it relates to the trauma and everything, while some of the bigger events, or not even big events I should say, but some of the more mysterious and investigative things are happening. Or I would have liked that stuff to have happened a bit sooner, because once it starts, it kind of just snowballs, and it feels like a weird shift in the tone and pacing, and I didn't love that. Actually, the final act scene, I think, was almost too fast. I don't know how to describe it. It didn't really feel like a full cop-out, but it didn't feel as heavy as it probably should have, or as that it was set up to. I think it corrects itself. The ending, the actual ending and epilogue is spectacular. Just so wonderful. This was a spectacular book, and I feel that the ending just perfectly aligned with the theme and the tones. I don't want to go into too much more detail because I don't want to accidentally spoil anything, but Sundowners Dance by Todd Keisling, spectacular. 4 out of 5 stars. It's from Shortwave Media. They also have that VHS horror series, which is fun and you should read, but you should definitely read the Sundowners Dance. And with that, we have one more book to read in this vlog, and I am going to binge it all afternoon and all evening. I'm very excited. I have never read any of his other books, but I have heard nothing but good things. We are going to read When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. And oh my goodness, all of my YouTube, Instagram, and just online friends and acquaintances that have read this have adored it. So I am very excited to get into this. I love this cover. Really quick, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to keep evading the boy's desperate father, horrifying realizations occur, and she starts to learn that there's more to these grisly events than she could have imagined. And it's got a little wolf on the cover, so I think it might be werewolves. I don't know. I'm very excited to find out. I do have a couple more chores to do out here. I'm definitely gonna make coffee. I got like 5 hours of sleep, and I have to finish setting up the library room. And then we're gonna get right into this. Okay, so let's talk. I'm definitely not going to finish this tonight, but I'm going to be close. I do have to go to the gym in the morning, and it is already 12:30, so that's not going to happen. I need to make myself go to sleep, but I am going to read for probably another hour or so while I drink my nightworms tea. But I have some thoughts. So there was a tonal shift, and I don't really know how I feel about that. I think it works within the story. I don't think it is counter to anything in any way. I don't know that I love it because the book's part 1 started on such this extreme high, pure adrenaline, horror, just spectacular. And then there is this tonal shift that probably does make the plot a bit more interesting. Even I have to admit that. So I don't know how I personally feel about that, but I think I just wanted something a little more like part one throughout the whole book. But I like I said, I think it works for the story. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's not jarring. It's just a different vibe. Little bit of an overview here. I know I read the blurb, but we're focusing on Jess, who is this struggling actress. And one day after work, she goes home and there's like a little boy just crawling out of the bushes. Angry man comes looking for him, devolves from there. Now they're fleeing across the country. I can't go too much more than that without spoilers. So, and I don't want to do that. This is a book you need to experience. You need to read it. So now things have kind of gone across the country. There's a lot of humanity. There's a lot of sad stuff, like sad concepts and ideas surrounding this boy and Jess and kind of their lives so far and the things they've had to deal with. And so I'm really liking that. I actually like the content warning in this book. Nat Cassidy did it almost as a tongue-in-cheek complaint against people who make a fuss over content warnings. So that it was fun. I am really enjoying this so far. I do want to stay up till 2 a.m. and finish it, but I cannot. I'm gonna have my tea. I am going to read for a little bit more, and then I'm gonna try and go to bed. Hopefully I can actually go to bed, because I got a feeling I'm gonna be right at the final act, right at the third act, when my time is up, and I should be going to sleep. This is a weird thing to say, but I wish there were more characters in a lot of ways. What I mean by that is the book very much focuses on the boy and Jess, and then everything else is kind of an afterthought. And I think it works, but I am someone who likes a cast of characters, and we don't really get that in this book. But I'm going to go take my tea off the pot and then get to work on this. And my next update should be my final one.
Would you go straight from the joint to Shag? Then it's fucking time.
Alrighty guys, I am absolutely fried. I was up way too late last night and got up way too early. But I finished When the Wolf Comes Home this morning. I loved this. This was 5 stars, for sure. The best book I read in the vlog. I know I complained last night a little bit about the tonal shift, and I still have mixed feelings about it, but I don't think it detracts from the story at all, and I think it went full circle. I think it circled right back around to that, like, adrenaline, horror-fueled story bit for the end. No spoilers, but go and read this for sure. I love it so much. I love it so much because how it set up the twist that kind of happens in the book. And you realize just how much the story comes together at the end. And that is my favorite thing in the world when it comes to horror movies or mystery thrillers, and anything along those lines. I loved it. I'm definitely going to read Nestlings, his other book, at some point. Oh man. But all good things must come to an end. That is the end of this vlog. In this vlog we read 3 of my Nightworms books. Haunting of Velkwood, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was definitely a 4-star read, even though I took a lot longer with it than I probably should have. Second, we read The Sundowners Dance by Todd Keisling. This was also 4 stars. This was spectacular, and I loved the ending. The third act climax scene I wish would have been a little more drawn out, but the rather 80% of the book that happened before that and the final 10% were just spectacular. Spectacular. Very minor complaints with this one. This was also 4-star for sure. And then finally, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This was my favorite book of this vlog. This is probably one of my favorite Nightworms books that I've read recently. And I do have a ton that I still need to get through, so that could change. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I know I said I was gonna kind of back off some of these after OSA for a little bit, where I did one every single week. But I like making these longer vlogs. I find them a little more fun to make, a little more motivating than just my usual sit down and talk Monday videos. But if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing, dropping a like or a comment. Let me know any books you want to see me read or anything I should read. Always down for recommendations. Any genre, but especially horror. There's so much horror out there that I haven't heard of that I always end up getting recommended to me during like OSA or Halloween-a-thon. So absolutely, if you have anything on your mind or that you read that you want to kind of spread the love about, drop a comment and let me know. But for now, guys, I am going to go edit this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.